Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The family of Belarusian journalist Roman Protasevich says he was coerced into making a confession on TV of organising anti-government protests.
Перестать бежать от чего-то.
In a tearful appearance on state TV, he praised President Alexander Lukashenko and admitted attempting to topple him. But human rights and opposition campaigners say he was tortured. Mr. Protasevich was arrested in Minsk last month after his flight to Lithuania was diverted.
Pressure is more powerful than...
Meanwhile, the Belarusian opposition leader has called on the United States, Britain and the European Union to act jointly to put more pressure on the current administration. She made the comments during a visit to Warsaw in Poland ahead of a summit of G7 rich countries in next week. Well, finance ministers from the G7 group of nations have been meeting already, hoping to agree to a global deal to raise more tax from the likes of Google, Facebook and Amazon. The gathering, chaired by British Finance Minister Rishi Sunak, is the first time the ministers have met face-to-face since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. Countries have struggled for years to agree on a way to raise more tax from large multinational companies. Mr. Sunak said he was hopeful a deal could be reached. People in Hong Kong are marking the 32nd anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, while authorities banned vigils to commemorate the event, citing the COVID-19 pandemic as the reason. Earlier, officials arrested pro-democracy activist Chow Hang-tung, who organises annual vigils for victims of the Tiananmen Square crackdown. On the streets, thousands of people are out on patrol to prevent people from gathering. University students held a minute's silence in front of the Pillar of Shame, a concrete sculpture commemorating victims of the 1989 massacre. The International Chemical Weapons Watchdog has told the UN Security Council 17 cases of chemical weapons were likely or definitely used in the conflict in Syria.
The declaration submitted by the Syrian Arab Republic.
The watchdog investigated 77 allegations of chemical weapons used in Syria in total. Russia has sharply criticised the OPCW and its investigators, accusing them of factual and technical errors and acting under pressure from Western nations. British holidaymakers in Portugal have been reacting to the UK government's decision to remove Portugal from its so-called green list. The move to the amber list means UK tourists should not visit the country and returnees must isolate for 10 days. The UK government said the decision followed increased concern about a mutation of the Delta variant, which was first identified in India. Portugal has said it could not understand the logic behind the move. There are reports of fresh clashes on the border between the Central African Republic and Chad. The clashes come just days after 6 Chadians and 3 Russians were killed in fighting at a border post, and several weeks after Chad's military claimed victory over militants. Both countries have called on the United Nations and the African Union to investigate last week's incident. South African researchers, backed by Russia's Rosatom Corporation, are injecting rhino horns with radioactive materials in a pilot study to help curb the illegal rhino horn trade. The scientists are working to make smuggled horns detectable at global ports of entry and less desirable to buyers. South Africa is home to the world's largest rhino population, whose horn is one of the most expensive commodities in the world by weight, fetching tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. And finally, a US government report on sightings of UFOs found no evidence of alien activity, but does not rule it out. The review of 120 incidents is expected to conclude that US technology was not involved in most cases. But beyond that, the report makes no definitive assessments about what the objects might be, meaning that many enthusiasts will still wonder if these strange sightings are indeed alien life forms. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.